Yeah, and then you can talk. Okay. I still get it, but better than just this.
Okay,
Yeah, this one.
that's better.
Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the June 10th meeting of the Board of Education. We have just returned from closed session. No action was taken. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, as we move to approve the agenda, I would like to ask the board to move one of the items up. That would be the personnel report, which is 15.2. Up and move that to just after recognitions and celebrations. Is that okay with the board and staff? Oh, that's right. Just after employee organizations. Okay.
15.2.
That's 15.2. Are there any other adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, I would like to pull 16.9. The wrong PDF and the wrong background information was attached.
Okay. I would accept a motion with those two changes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Please vote. 3 ayes. So next we move on to, the student is not here this evening, so we move on to employee organizations, NTA, CSCA, and NUMA. NTA, please.
Hello, school board members, executive cabinet, and community members watching here and at home. My name is Rachel Bloom, and I'm the president of the Newark Teachers Association. NTA represents certificated employees in the district, such as teachers, speech-language pathologists, school psychologists, and counselors. I hope everyone is having a restful summer. Even though it is summer, the agenda is quite full tonight. Tonight, you'll be hearing a presentation about multi-tiered system of supports, MTSS. Slide 14 of the Aligning Academic and Behavior Support Systems presentation tells you all you need to know about how useless district implementation of MTSS will be. Where is the plan to hire more personnel to help support students that need it? NTA educators have already seen the data. It is shoved in our face daily, weekly, and monthly. NTA educators live and breathe data. We know what our data means. Students need counselors and intervention teachers to help. But where is the support from administrators to actually help us with our students? You'll see on the slide that there is no plan and there are no strategies to help Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. In addition to MTSS, you'll be hearing a presentation on the EL Master Plan. Once again, district-level administrators will give you a presentation that makes it seem like everything is fine and dandy, but the plan falls short once again, and once you begin to move and dig deeply. You'll be presented with a document that says students may receive small group additional support 1 to 5 times a week. But where are those teachers? Where is the support from the district office? The data tells us that our students need more support, but where are the intervention teachers on staff to provide that support? Where are the counselors our students need to help support their social emotional needs? Some sites have way more multilingual learners than other sites. Where is the equity with respect to staffing to provide more intervention support at the sites with the greatest need? Speaking of equity, I wanted to mention one last concern this evening. The district must prioritize hiring enough and appropriately credentialed teachers throughout the district. This means finding PE teachers to teach PE and science teachers to teach science. That means assigning a sufficient number of math and science teachers to Bridgepoint to offer a robust and flexible program that Bridgepoint students need to succeed. Did you know that Bridgepoint is losing an ROP class for this coming year? That is unacceptable, and the district office administrators should be working to bring the ROP class back to Bridgepoint. I thank you for your time and encourage the board to question the people making presentations today. Call BS. Ask what the plan is and how they're going to implement it. Ask what the students are being given moving forward that they were not receiving before. District office administrators paint a picture for you to make you think that everything is fine, but the truth is that students are not getting the support they need. We need more teachers in classrooms, not more directors at the district office. So while you're listening to the presentations this evening, please ask lots of questions. Hold district office personnel accountable, because the reality is that students are not getting what they need to be successful. The district must hire more educators if students are to get the support and attention they need to thrive. I hope the district will work collaboratively with NTA members to create the schools that our families and students deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have someone from CSEA? Numa? No, okay, so we move on to item 9, public comment. 9.1 is public comment on non-agenda items. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and the board will limit the total time for public comment to 20 minutes. If a situation arises where there are more speakers on a topic than the total amount allotted time, the president may pause the agenda and reconvene it at the end of the meeting before adjournment. And I believe we have how many?
10.
We have 10, so 10 times 3 is 30 minutes. So if you can be efficient in speaking, then you won't have to wait till the end of the meeting. In order to ensure that non-English speakers receive the same opportunity to directly address the board, non-English speakers who utilize a translator shall be provided at least twice the amount allotted time. Without taking action, board members or district staff members may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by the public about items not appearing on the agenda. Okay. Ms. Parks.
Good evening. I'm here again to urge the board to exercise its authority and place an immediate pause on the proposed transfer of special education students from Kennedy Elementary. You are the governing board of this district, and the final decision rests with you, not with the outgoing administration. This disruptive transition is being pushed forward without a detailed public blueprint. Look at the immediate operational crisis you face. The district is attempting to relocate while lacking both the special education director and program specialist, the critical leaders required to oversee compliance and protect IEPs. Furthermore, a brand new superintendent is about to take over. It is entirely irresponsible to let an outgoing administration rush an unmapped plan through the door, leaving incoming leadership to manage the inevitable logistical and legal wreck. Furthermore, this administration is completely ignoring new legislation. Assembly Bill 560 has enacted Education Code Section 56364.3, which indicates that on or before July 1 of 2027, the state superintendent shall consult with various individual specialists and recommend a maximum adult to pupil staffing ratio for special classes for pupils 3 to 22 years of age. If you uproot these specialized environments now, your most vulnerable students face the risk of having their services changed twice when the new ratios are put in place, causing possible academic and behavioral regression. Financially, if this is rushed, transition fails to provide a free, appropriate public education, a single federal lawsuit or private placement can cost the district $75,000 to $150,000 a year for an NPS. You hold the ultimate authority. Please pause this transition. Allow time to develop a comprehensive plan aligned with the upcoming 2027 adult to student ratio guidelines in full collaboration with all stakeholders and the incoming superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. Samantha Archie, what is it? Sorry, I didn't get your last name.
Artiaga.
Artiaga, okay.
My name is Samantha Artiaga, and I go to Kennedy. I feel very sad that my twin brother is that Tomas's class is going away from our school. It's not fair because they are part of our school too. I liked seeing them and saying hi, and I think they make our school nicer and happier. I'm going to miss them and a lot. I'm not going to miss. I mean, other kids won't get to know them anymore, and that makes me sad because they are really nice and fun to have in our school. And fun days we have, like our plays, field trips, and recess out. Everyone should be together. I wish they could stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha. Good job. Ann Nisalga.
Good evening, board members. I'm here tonight because I believe the proposed changes to the special education SDC program should be placed on the agenda and brought before the board for a public discussion and vote. I also want to speak directly to two board members whose term are ending this year. Both of you have given years of service to this district and this community. One of you brings this perspective of a retired educator, the other has served the board for nearly 2 decades. That level of service deserves respect, however, it also carries responsibility in moments like this. Board Member Thomas, you responded to my email stating you can't make everyone happy. I was very disappointed with your response. This is not about making everyone happy. This is about children who depend on stability, structure, and legally required services. I would ask you to consider this in the most personal way possible. If this was your own grandchild being put in this position and someone told you you can't make everyone happy, would you be able to accept that response? No. And to Board Member Jones, this decision is being brought forward by a superintendent who's on her way out the door and will not be here to see the long-term impact of how this plays out. Are you willing to fully accept and support a plan of this magnitude without a complete, transparent, publicly reviewed implementation plan? And when so many families are telling you there are serious risks being overlooked? Is this the legacy you both want to leave behind? Being remembered as board members who don't support special needs families. Across the room tonight are parents who are here because of lived experience and with their children's needs, their progress, and their setbacks. When so many families are raising the same concerns, it is worth pausing to seriously examine whether the plan is truly ready to move forward. What is being proposed is not minor adjustment. It's a major restriction of special education services that may create unnecessary transition instability and reduce support of some of the most vulnerable students. So my request is simple. Please do not move forward with implementation. Use your authority to pause the process with it until this is complete data-backed plan and that clearly shows both the educator impact and the rest cost savings. Do not let politics interfere with doing what's right. Do what's right for our SDC students. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Turuno.
Good evening, board members. I'm here tonight to strongly oppose the proposed changes to the special education SDC program. I'm requesting that this matter be placed on the board agenda for public discussion and formal vote. I am concerned that this process has not been communicated to all the families it affects. Only families whose children are being moved have been notified. However, families whose children remain in these classrooms will also be impacted through their increased class sizes and reduced individualized support. The district has stated that these changes are due to low enrollment, but the explanation does not make sense to many families. 2 years ago, my son's class had only 6 students. This year, it grew as to many as 11 students. The district also expanded from 2 mild moderate SDC classes to 4. Its enrollment is truly declining. If enrollment is truly declining, families deserve to see the data. Yet when parents ask for enrollment numbers and projections, we are told the information is unavailable or will be provided later. A class of 15 students may not seem large, but for children with special needs, it can be overwhelming. These students depend on individualized support, consistent routines, and strong relationships with their teachers and aides. Many have worked incredibly hard to achieve academic, social, and emotional progress. Students with disabilities are legally entitled to a free, appropriate public education under IDEA. Moving a specialized program is more than moving students. It requires ensuring that staff services, equipment, and supports are fully in place from day one. My question is, in the absence of a written transition plan, how can the administration guarantee that our children's IEPs will be fully implemented on day one without causing regression or disruption services? Our children are not numbers. They are students who have worked hard every milestone they achieve. Families deserve transparency, a clear plan, and a voice in decisions that directly affect their children. Thank you.
Christina Bernal Bautista.
This microphone might be too high. Can it go down a little bit? Okay. Good evening, board members. I am expressing my strong opposition to the proposed changes to the special education SD program and the relocation of the classes from Kennedy Elementary School. I formally request that this matter be placed on the agenda for public discussion and a formal vote. I offer my perspective as a retired special ed teacher and primary regular education teacher with 34 years, and even beyond that, because I started actually when I was 16 years old working in special ed. And also, I am a grandmother of he's going to be 8 in a few days, of an autistic student who was attending Kennedy. And with the wonderful teacher, Miss Nohalani, has done a wonderful job. He had very good experience with her this last year or year and a half. We were able to move him into a regular education class, and I honestly know with her support made all the difference in the world. We started with terrible teachers when he was in kindergarten. We didn't have principals. It was a nightmare. Then last year they were in a classroom that was really far from the bathroom for primary students. They were in a building that they had to walk really far to go to the children's bathroom. Okay, I am deeply concerned that this proposal creates an inequitable experience. While many students will enjoy a stable TK path to 5th grade. Younger students at Birch Grove Primary, they're going to be forced to move earlier, whereas if they stayed at Kennedy, they can go all the way to 5th grade and not have to transition, which is very stressful for autistic students. Also, the inclusive environment at Kennedy is built and established by the 2 special ed teachers, Ms. Jasmine and Ms. Noah Lonnie. They have dedicated and done a wonderful job. And also another issue is we really want to keep their team together, their aides, because they formed a really good bond in providing a wonderful instruction. So basically, I urge the board to maintain both the primary and intermediate special day classes at Kennedy rather than relocating. I suggest adding a limited number of students to the existing classes that are in Kennedy instead of moving them. And then also a concern of moving those teachers, you might force them to feel like, and too many students, 13 to 15 special day kids is way too many for anybody to handle. And we may end up losing them because we originally, like I said, my grandson, we did not have a regular credentialed special ed teacher. And then the teacher that's currently there, the teachers are wonderful. Thank you.
So we have 5 more minutes before our 20 minutes is up, and we have 5 additional people wishing to speak. So I will take some I'll take the next 2, and if there's still time, I can take the last 3. The last 3 will be Sundar Akaria, Megan McMillan, and Fong Win. And we will take them after the at the end of the agenda. Okay, so next is Onomopia.
Good evening, board members. I am here tonight because I strongly oppose the proposed changes to the special education SDC program, and I am requesting that this item be placed on the agenda for full public discussion and formal board vote. We are being told that these changes are part of a budget solution, but families have not been given clear, detailed information about the real savings or where the funds are being reallocated. 3 contractor teachers' positions are being eliminated, yet we have not seen a full breakdown of actual savings after all costs are considered. At the same time, more students continue to be identified for special education throughout the year. If SDS classrooms are reduced and filled, there's a real concern that students may not have appropriate placement and could be pushed into a general education settings where they may not receive support required in their IEP. My question is, with these budget cuts, where exactly are the funds being reallocated? How much is the district actual savings by eliminating the 3 contractors teachers position? And what is the plan to ensure newly identified student will still have appropriate SDC placement without being inappropriately placed in a general education due to lack of space? Families deserve transparency, clear numbers, and a plan that ensures every child receives the service they are legally entitled to under FAPE. I also want to remind the board of one of your core values, academic excellence and equity for all students. I want to emphasize that for all, this change does not feel like it reflects that commitment. For many families, it feels like our most vulnerable students are not being fully considered and that this plan is not setting them up for success. Thank you.
Kel Lal.
Good evening, board members. I'm here tonight to firmly oppose the proposed changes to the special education SDC program. I'm requesting that this item be placed on agenda for a full public discussion and formal vote by the board. This plan is being presented in a way to save money, but families have not been shown a clear or verified financial information about the real savings. What is missing in all the conversation is the risk that the district is taking if they implement this plan. When the students with disabilities are moved without clear written transition plan, there is a real chance for loss of service, regression, and failure to provide a FAPE, which is required under the IDEA. Families all know their rights and will use them if needed. To spell it out for you, parents will start taking legal action toward the district. So my question is, how can the district move forward based on an unverified savings when one due process case or a private placement could eliminate all those savings? I respectfully ask the board to pause this plan. This plan interrupts students' progress and in the long run could cost the district more money while harming the children it is meant to serve.
Thank you. We will take up the other three after the agenda item at the end, the consent agenda items. So next, our board policy says that we allow 20 minutes for this item, but we will hear from everyone. We will give you the opportunity after we have our agenda item for at the end of the meeting. So before we move on to the next agenda item, which is public comment on agenda items, I neglected to move 15.2 up after employee organization, so I apologize for that. Superintendent?
Good evening, Board of Education. I'm so good to see you here this evening, and I want to thank the families for coming out and expressing their concerns. I most certainly do understand, and I do appreciate your time and the time that you spent with me and sharing, what your concerns are, and we will try to address some of your questions that you had here this evening and try to provide you with additional feedback. With that, though, this evening we have moved to the PAL report, although on the PAL report, I think the action that you want to talk about is the action that you took in closed session this evening, which is the announcement of 2 administrators. And I'll turn this over to Mr. Williams for presentation.
Shall I ask for a vote on that item first?
Yes.
Okay. I would ask the board to vote on item 15.1, which is the PAL report.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Please vote. 3 ayes. Okay, thank you.
As part of closed session item 2.6 in the PAL report, as we just vote on, we're really excited that we found someone who's going to bring some consistency, some calmness, some understanding of special education, and just a great experience as a middle school principal. So I'm really excited to welcome to the podium Scott Boggs, who will be our new Newark Middle School principal for 26-27. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, school board and superintendent, cabinet members, and everybody in the audience. I'm really excited to join the Newark community. Can't wait to meet all the staff members, the students, the family, and the community. Learn about what's great about Newark Middle School, and maybe be a part of a team that can help meet some of the challenges that will come forward. Do I have any Newark Middle School kids here? There's a lot of future middle school kids.
The other side.
Oh, right there? All right, you'll be there next year? All right, I will see you there, all right? Again, really thankful for the opportunity and excited to get started.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Boggs.
In addition to closed session action at 2.4 that was taken, we'd like to welcome our new Director of Special Education, Louis Lenzi, if you want to come up and join us.
Well, thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Board, for this opportunity. When I started off as an intern in special education, I always found that my passion, my heart was within special ed, and I'm glad to be able to have the opportunity to continue to serve in this capacity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just ask her.
Next, we have several individuals that would like to speak to public comment on agenda items. I will call your name, and if you would like to let me know if you want to speak now to the agenda item. Your other option is to speak when the agenda item is called later in the meeting.
Mrs. Thomas, before you move forward, can I just ask you to please make sure that you clarify for the community that in closed session, that it was a unanimous action? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that got reported out.
That there was what?
That it was a unanimous action to appoint the two administrators. I just want to make sure that got reported out.
Actually, there was no action taken in closed session. We were introduced to the individuals. The action was taken by approving the PAL.
Which is not fact anywhere. It doesn't say that information. Transparency.
There's no transparency. They're making up their own rules. Yeah.
Where's the PAL that shows those two individuals?
They're not on the panel.
They were appointments.
They're not on the PAL?
They're not on the PAL.
You guys don't even know what you're doing.
I am so sorry. You're right. I misspoke. We did meet the individuals in closed session, and I guess we will have to redo this next week, right?
Absolutely.
I'm so sorry, everyone. Next, Ms. Parks has 3 items on agenda items. Would you like to speak to them now, Ms. Parks?
No, I'm going to talk before the item, and yes, I'm going to talk before the item.
Okay, thanks. We'll call you later then.
You guys all need to resign, and you guys need to fire those 2 people over there. Yeah.
Well, one's leaving already, so don't have to fire her. She's leaving. Stop saying about the kids. About himself. So embarrassing.
Next, we move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. If I could have the.
Before you do that,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I would really like to personally apologize to our 2 new appointees. And are you willing to come back next week so we can do this formally? Thank you.
Thank you. If I could pull up the enrollment information on the agenda. So we wanted to share some enrollment projections with you as of 6/3, 2026. Next slide. We wanted to share what our enrollment looks like as we move forward in beginning our next school year for 26-27. You can see that enrollment projections and where we're currently at now. We currently have a higher number of students than what our projections allocated for the initial year. So we are up a little bit in numbers, and we're super excited about that. So that's a good thing. Next slide. The board has also asked for us to be able to show this by a bar chart as to what it looks like where the projections were and where we're at currently with enrollment. We continue to monitor this very closely and be able to help support families in our enrollment center, and we are open this summer, and so we look forward to seeing you. The enrollment center is open Monday through Thursday. Next slide. I think that's it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we move on to 11.1, aligning academic and behavioral support systems in NUSD.
Good evening. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to share information about aligning academic and behavior supports in our district. I have shared these two pictures with the educational services team a couple of times and just last week with site principals. The image on the left depicts the very first day Sweden allowed cars on the road, but there was no guidance on which side to drive on. Sometimes it feels a little bit like this in our district, well-intended efforts, yet with many different direction and approaches. Our goal has become like the cabinet on the right, where our work is aligned, our purpose is clear and visible, and we are all moving forward together, working in the same direction. The district has had previous board presentations regarding an MTSS framework, and we continue our transformational work. A relaunch of an MTS framework will ensure clarity, consistency, and a shared understanding across all levels of the organization. In order to have an MTSS framework and to do this important work, grounding in data is important as it provides a story. As we anxiously await the 25-26 CASP results, our results from last year showed promising growth. NUSD is the dark blue bands at the bottom of the slide, results from the state on top, and results from the county in the middle. While we outperform the state in ELA and math, our results are quite lower than the county. For English language arts, we had the biggest growth in 7 years overall with a 6% increase. However, this slide clearly identifies our current opportunity gap with our English learners showing the lowest results. For math, we have also made growth last year, an increase of 3%. However, we have the same scenario as English language arts. The opportunity gap is clear for our English learners. This year, we implemented a new supplemental phonics program from the University of Florida Literacy Institute. The science of reading research is very clear. Prominent readers need phonics instruction, especially for our students who are learning 2 languages. While we made impressive gains for a mid-year implementation, the opportunity gap has started as the slide indicates the percentage of students who are not on grade level in reading in grades K2 at the end of this school year. For our English learners from 23-24 to 24-25, we made impressive gains with the number of students increasing by at least 1 level on the annual LPAC assessment, which is one of our academic goals. If we just look at the top blue bars, 6% of our English learners progressed at least 1 level on the LPAC last school year. Special education is another data point. Newark is in year 1 of a 3-year significant disproportionality process related to Hispanic students identified under special learning disability. We are identifying more Hispanic students for a specific learning disability than any other student performance group. While this is a common trend throughout the state, we are required to have a plan for what we will do to address this, and strengthening early intervention and the implementation of an MTSS framework are part of this plan. Finally, academic and social emotional support go hand in hand in this work. They are equally important. From our latest California Healthy Kids Survey results administered to students in the 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th grades last October, 72% of our fifth graders feel connected to their school and feel they have an adult who cares about them. While our secondary students, this percentage decreases to 48% feeling connected to school and 52% feeling they have an adult who cares about them on campus. The data tells us a story, and this is why it's important for us and all systems to be moving in the same direction for purposeful, intentional, and meaningful work for all students to be on grade level or higher and reaching their fullest potential. If we are going to reach all students, next slide, please, thank you. We need to move from awareness to action and relaunch our Tier 1 practices in an MTSS framework. This all starts by aligning our goals district-wide. The first 3 board goals align to the LCAP goals, and the LCAP goals now align to the site SIPSA goals, all unified, one purpose. Fiscal health, of course, will continue to be a priority for the board. Our Tier 1 practices for academic and behavior school-wide supports will be our first priority of this relaunched framework. This will include a continuous cycle of improvement to build a strong foundation of best practices in instruction and assessment, continue to create a positive environment for learning through social-emotional learning lessons, and provide clear expectations for behavior using positive behavioral interventions and support, or more commonly known as PBIS. Academic will be a key component of our Tier 1 practices of the framework because it ensures that all instructional efforts, resources, and interventions are coordinated and focused on common goals. When academic practices are aligned, teachers and staff can consistently implement evidence-based strategies that support student learning across grade levels and subject areas. This coherence helps prevent gaps or overlaps in instruction, promotes data-driven decision-making, and creates a unified approach to address student needs. As mentioned previously, behavior expectations go hand in hand with academic supports. Shared on the slide are part of the efforts that will take place to reinforce positive behaviors, promote a consistent school culture, and ensure that students receive the support they need to successfully academic and socially. Most of these are already in place. These initiatives aim to create a safe, respectful, and productive learning environment for all students. Ongoing collaboration will be key to this work. Teachers already have collaboration time embedded into their professional workday a few times a month, and several elementary sites are implementing intervention or flex times during the school day, and the high school is ready and prepared to bring back the tutorial period. We will also continue to have a focused concentration on the support of our English learners. As shared on the slide, we currently serve 830 English learners as of the end of May, and when looking at the bottom row, 178 of these students have been in the district since kindergarten, and we have not been able to reclassify them. This evening on the board agenda is the request to approve a new English Learner Master Plan. The plan has not been updated since 2019. The updated version was worked on by district committee as well as members of the educational services team. The plan clearly identifies what is in place according to the California English Learner Roadmap in our district and what we need to do to increase the academic performance of our English learners, as mentioned earlier this evening. This is why this is a plan to acknowledge what we are doing and what we need to do. In addition, this evening we are also asking the board to approve a new PK through 12 Common Core aligned special education curriculum called TeachTown in our extensive need classes and moderate courses in secondary. It has been over 9 years since we have had a unified program to support our students with IEPs, and this new adoption aligns to the relaunch of our Tier 1 practices to implement Common Core standards. Next week, 2 LCAP actions and many site SIPSA plans will include requests and contracts for professional learning opportunities. Professional learning for both certificating staff will be essential to support the adults within the district and their various roles to provide quality Tier 1 practices. While I agree with the NTA president that Tier 2 and Tier 3 needs to be further developed of this framework, this takes collaboration with educator partners to ensure a successful implementation. And we would not be following a process if I presented this information this evening without their voices. Focusing on Tier 1 systems as support will strengthen current practices district-wide and build collaborative structures for sustainable change to ensure that we are all moving in the same direction with clarity, purpose, and a shared commitment for student success. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much for that thorough report. Board members?
Thank you.
Did you
Member
want to?
Thomas?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Ms. Cowan, Ms. Allard, really appreciate the presentation. This 58-page document that was placed with, since 2019, it's been revised. We've had input from different departments. The collaboration has came. Have we seen the insurance, the student support, the tier 1 level? Obviously, that's something that we still have a lot of work to do. Mentioned earlier, tier 2, tier 3. Having that we have a lot of voids in regards to supporting these particular levels, do we have the proper professional development for our teachers to really engage and really take the time to really focus on the children that need these particular services?
It's one of the things that will be in work that still needs some additional voice to make sure that I'm hearing the certificated and classified staff to make sure that we are bringing it forward. One of the plans is to bring forward universal designs for learning, which is part of that. It makes MTSS frameworks quite successful, and that is under discussion as well.
Thank you. And the second part of the question would be the Teach Town program. We've seen different models at different schools. How have we seen the data, the feedback on this particular program?
Yeah, great question. We had several teachers throughout the district pilot this program this spring. We gathered their feedback. We gave them survey. All of them are very excited to bring on this unified curriculum, which again, we haven't had in this district in a long time.
And one last thing, the Teach Town program, it covers what grade levels, if you don't mind me asking?
PK through our TAL program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Superintendent, we have a presentation for the public hearing on the LCAP.
That would be me again.
That's you again.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share information regarding our draft 2627 LCAP, which has been a team effort from across the district. I would like to publicly acknowledge the work of the LCAP Advisory Committee and board members who attended our meetings, as well as Dr. Michelle Manriquez, our Student Success Coordinator, who wrote the 2627 LCAP. This public hearing and my presentation are required by Ed Code to occur annually prior to the meeting in which the LCAP is presented to the board for action, which is scheduled for the next board meeting on June 17th. Tonight's presentation includes a budget overview for parents, key themes from collected feedback, progress and growth from our school year, and finally, updates to the LCAP for your consideration, as there are a few modifications to meet our obligation to our students. The district receives a majority of its revenue from local and state funds, of which 77% are local control funds. Our CBO will speak more about this allocation formula in the budget presentation. What I want to share with you is that a slice about $5.3 million are designated as supplemental or concentration funds and amounts to approximately 7% of the total LCFF allocation. The LCAP is a plan to spend these funds targeted to support 8 state priority areas that I will speak to in a bit. The Local Control Accountability Plan outlines how our district, board, and community collaborate to prioritize and invest in programs and services funded through the state's local control funding formula. These investments aim to achieve positive outcomes for all students with a focus on our English learner students, students from socioeconomically disadvantaged households, those in foster care, and students experiencing homelessness. The LCAP is a 3-year plan that sets out specific outcomes, allowing sufficient time for actions and investments to demonstrate their impact, whether positive or not, before making decisions to adjust course. The process of adopting the LCAP involves active engagement with key staff and community partners to gather valuable impact and feedback, ensuring the plan reflects the needs and priorities of our students and communities. This year marks the final year of our current 3-year LCAP, and beginning next year, we will develop and implement a brand new one. There are 8 state priorities for the LCAP that must be addressed. Most are self-explanatory, however, some are not. Basically, necessities refers to access to teachers, appropriate instructional materials, and safe, properly maintained facilities. Course access means all students have access to a broad course of study in all required subjects. Shared is the timeline, process, and efforts that were taken in developing the 26-27 LCAP cycle, which kicked off with the mid-year report to the board. The data presentations provided the board and the community with our continuous improvement efforts to increase student outcomes, especially for our unduplicated students. During the first feedback session with the county on April 21st, the county was very impressed with our completion rate in our LCAP and had little suggestions for improvement. All of the suggestions have now been completed, however. The draft of the LCAP is being presented to you this evening for further discussion to gather any final recommendations before the plan is brought forward for approval on June 17th. The deadline for submitting the approved LCAP to the county for official review is June 30th, which after will be submitted to the state for final approval. Our LCAP goals remain unchanged for a final year. The LCAP goals also align to the board and site SIPSA goals, aligning all systems to support student outcomes. Goal 1 focuses on academic achievement. Goal 2, engagement and school climate. Goal 3, conditions of learning. And Goal 4 specifically supports Bridgepoint High School using equity multiplier funds to reduce the number of suspensions and chronic absenteeism and for graduates to be college and career ready. Every year, we are required to seek feedback from the community regarding the proposed LCAP. This year, we received 341 responses, and several key themes emerged from the collected feedback. Increasing English learners' progress continues to be a top priority, as well as SEL and mental health services. There also continues to be an emphasis on funding for site SIPSA plans, as well as providing additional time for English learners and bilingual aides to support our English learners. The next section examines the progress the district is making toward our actions and 3-year targets outlined in our LCAP, which are reflected in our local metrics. Some of our data is lagging, such as the CAS results for the 25-26 school year, which are not available yet. As a result, some of the data presented reflects results from 24-25 school year. There are a total of 35 metrics across all 3 LCAP goals. While I will be sharing several of them, I will not be going over them all this evening. However, they are available for review in the entire document. The metric is listed on the left side, accompanied by the corresponding actions. The next column displays our Year 2 outcomes. The middle column shows the baseline outcomes established 2 years ago for our 3-year plan. And the final column, titled 3-Year Target, presents the results we aim to achieve by the end of the next school year. I've highlighted in blue font where progress has been made toward our 3-year targets, indicating that growth is occurring district-wide. Goal 1 focuses on increasing academic success. Metrics 1.1 and 1.2 illustrate the progress students have made in math. Metric 1.1 reports growth based on the 24-25 CASP assessment, while 1.2 reflects progress from this year's winter iReady assessment administered in February. For metric 1.3, we increased our 24-25 ELA scores, achieving the highest scores in the county and bringing us within 10% of our 3-year target. For metric 1.4, the iReady winter diagnostic shows continued growth compared to last year, with several grade levels improving their overall scores. One more back, please. Yes. This slide illustrates lagging data as we do not have LPAC outcomes for 2025. Nevertheless, we remain committed to supporting our English learners and anticipate positive outcomes based on this year's data once the California dashboard results are released in December. Goal 2 focuses on engagement and school climate. For metric 2.1 is another example of lagging data as we do not have results for this school year. However, in 24-25, the results indicate that more seniors met the A through G requirements for graduation to receive a high school diploma. Metric 2.2 focuses on chronic absenteeism, and we learned of an internal error that caused our chronic absenteeism to increase instead of decrease. We have corrected this internal error and are very optimistic about next year's results, as we've been closely monitoring absenteeism district-wide. This year, we continue to focus on our suspension rates. We continue to reduce the number of suspensions at all school sites by implementing restorative practices with students and are very close to our 3-year target. Metrics 3.2 and 3.10 are part of our goal for conditions of learning. And on the annual California Healthy Kids Survey, a survey that is required by Ed Code, was administered to the grade levels mentioned on the slide in October. The data reflects positive outcomes across all areas, indicating that students are starting to feel more connected to their school sites. This slide shares the AP exam passage rate at Newark Memorial High School. Results in blue indicate that students are passing the annual AP exam with a passing score of 3 or higher, and it continues to increase. Metrics 3.4 and 3.5 are more examples of lagging data, as we do not have anything for 25-26 yet. While the results are not where we want them to be yet, we did find some more internal errors that have caused a drop in our overall percentage, as well as for student performance groups. These have all been corrected, and we are also optimistic about our results that will be on the California dashboard in December. Goal 4 is focused on the equity multiplier funds that only Bridgepoint receives to reduce the number of suspensions, chronic absenteeism, and students are prepared for rigorous coursework as indicated on the California dashboard. Overall, Bridgepoint students are making impressive gains in all 3 metric areas. The next 3 slides will share changes and modifications to the LCAP based on the educational partner feedback. Our 4 goals for the last year of our 3-year LCAP remain the same. No changes or modifications. These 4 goals focus again on academic achievement, engagement in school climate, and conditions of learning, and the equity multiplier funds for Bridgepoint. 3 actions have been discontinued in this cycle of the LCAP. The first is from Goal 1, Action 1.2. The .3 cost coordinator position was eliminated due to budget cuts, and moving forward, our manager of parent engagement will oversee cost efforts district-wide. Goal 3, Action 3.5, the LCAP committee determined that individual sites can determine their own STEAM activities using SIPSA funds to meet the specific needs of their communities, rather than having these efforts organized centrally through the Educational Services Department. Lastly, Goal 3, Action 3.7, involved a small amount of funding allocated through the LCAP for school safety over the past 2 years. The amount was insufficient to create a district-wide impact, and therefore was discontinued for this 1 year. Finally, based on feedback, we added 1 new action under Goal 1, Student Achievement. Based on the feedback, the LCAP will now include funding to cover all salaries of all bilingual aides across the district. This initiative aims to improve student outcomes, particularly for our English learners, by supporting their progress on the annual LPAC and CASP assessments. Moving forward, our next steps are to gather input from the board and community this evening, followed by a request for board approval of the 26-27 LCAP on June 17th. Once approved, the LCAP will be submitted to the county by July 1st, where it will undergo a review for compliance in accordance with California Ed Code. Here's why our LCAP is so vital. The actions and expenditures outlined in it directly support our students' success both inside and outside the classroom, with a particular focus on our English learners, foster youth, homeless students, and those who are socially and economically disadvantaged. Let's continue to work collaboratively and remain dedicated to improving student outcomes across the district. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Board members?
I attended the LCAP meetings and so was really familiar with the process. And thank you for all of the details and the extra commentary tonight with the presentation. I appreciated being able to just sit in on the process this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Anguiano?
I'd like to echo that. I was part of the LCAP committee as well, just to be a fly on the wall, to really listen on what the needs are and the modifications that were made, the changes. So thank you, Ms. Allard. Really appreciate you guys taking the lead on that. One quick question I had in regards to the metric, just going back to the metric, goal 1. Did notice that 24-25 school year, the EL 5.8, and if we could go back for that particular one, there was a negative 2.6 drop, or is that considered a drop or an actual for the following?
For goal 1, academic success, I mentioned ELA, math, our progress on the LPAC, and our reclassification rates. Do any of those sound familiar that might?
Okay, so
I think if I'm looking at the slide correctly,
there
it's
you
for our
go.
reclassification rates that did fall a little bit.
Okay.
This could, Dr. Van Rickus, do you remember? I remember we talked about this the other day, but the exact reason for the 12.5% decrease? With your permission, can I please look into that just a little bit further, and I can send you an email with that information? My apologies.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. It's just that the EL 5.8% for year 2 outcome, and then the change for the baseline was negative 2.6.
Yeah.
So
Let me just work with my team tomorrow, and I will give you a detailed email by the morning.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, and I'd like to echo my board members' comments. Very complete, and appreciate all the hard work that went into it by you and by the committee.
Thank you.
Can I just follow up with a quick question? The implementation of the attendance, the intervention process with the SARB and the SART, did we have data showing that within the LCAP itself?
It's currently not one of the metrics in it, although I can seek the data for you.
If the students are not, say, for example, if they're not present, that's a huge issue, right? So the attendance piece would be nice to also have, because it could be one of the areas that we go ahead and look into.
Agreed, and great suggestion as we start a brand new 3-year LCAP next school year to add that as a metric.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we move on to 11.3, the Governor's May revision.
Thank you. Our Assistant Superintendent, CBO, is not present in the room this evening, but she is going to be queued up on the mic and she'll be joining us via Zoom. And so I'll ask Ms. Lemus to make that connection while that's occurring. She'll be doing the presentation remote. This was her son's graduation this evening, and so she wanted to be there with them, but she also wants to be online with you to be able to make these presentations. President Thomas, we did reach out to legal counsel to find out how we could correct the oversight that was done as we came out of closed session and entered back into open session. And although we unfortunately did not take the vote in closed session for items 2.4, appointment of our Director of Special Education, or closed session item 2.6, appointment of the new principal for Newark Middle School, we are so excited to welcome both of these individuals. And so we would like to correct that error. And Lou Lozano gave us some direction. He says that you can take a public vote now on 2.4, which would be the appointment of Louis Lindsay, and 2.6, appointment of Scott Boggs.
Okay.
So we can do that probably underneath new business. I think we should hold off until we do our presentations here. When we get to new business, I think that's the place to do it, and make the correction.
I have to again apologize. In the past, what we've often done is we've had a revised PAL at the dais, and we use that when we approve the PAL. That's why I moved up the PAL so that it would be showing up on the revised PAL.
So my apologies for not catching it initially, like as to what you were doing, and all of a sudden I realized what had happened, and I do apologize to our community and also to our new employees. the prospective new employees once the vote's taken.
Great. Thank you. I feel better.
Okay, I know that the Victoria's online. She's trying to get herself set up in here.
Good evening.
Perfect. Good evening, Victoria. It's nice to have you online with us. We hope graduation for your son was awesome. And so thank you for being here.
Thank you. It was a beautiful ceremony, and I want to apologize to the community and to the board that I could not be there in person tonight. But tonight's presentations on two very important topics from the fiscal services end is very near and dear to me. So I want to make sure that I explain everything as best as I can for the May revision. First off, I think it's the May revision workshop, Ms. Toya. So if we could pull up the other slide first. There we go. Thank you so much for doing that. Yes, so tonight on June 10th, we will be going over the 2026 May revision workshop that was presented by the School Services of California. Executive Cabinet, Superintendent Vicar, and myself, we all attended the May revision workshop along with Nancy Chen, our Director of Fiscal Services. And tonight, I'm happy to share some of the highlights from the May revision workshop to this community. So first off, a budget cycle in the state of California is very complicated. There's many steps. The first step to the 2026 year started when we saw the January proposal by the governor. It was his initial proposal. It had a lot of preliminary numbers, but it resulted in, between that and now, it resulted in a May revise. At the May revision, it's an updated budget by the governor. It's a mandatory update and it must be released each year. But it does adjust the January budget significantly because it updates the entire state with all of our tax receipts and more economic data. And it allows us to know what is a more accurate picture of the state's finances. But the budget is still not done. We still have to wait for the enacted budget, which is a final version that goes into law after it passes legislature, and it is due by June 15th of each year. So even though we're presenting the May revision tonight, the enacted budget is really what gets solidified into the state budget and for our school district after June 15th. So some highlights from the 26-27 May revision from Governor Gavin Newsom himself. He does plan to significantly protect and stabilize the budget as he leaves office in his final year. He does introduce an additional one-time discretionary fund. He also proposes that we have a new benefit for all school district employees that will be a paid pregnancy disability leave. He also provides a very historic high increase to special education, but I will talk about that more in a future slide. Unfortunately, though, he does have no plans to fully fund our guarantee towards Proposition 98. It is still under appropriate at this time, but he is proposing a closure of some of the gap. It's not closed fully to be fully funded, but there is a proposal to shorten that gap in between the full funding. And so I'll jump right into that in the next slide. The Proposition 98 settle up at the governor's budget meeting was a gap of $5.6 billion that would have been underappropriated to all school districts in California. But in the May revise, he has closed that gap down to $3.9 billion. It's still not a full funding level for Proposition 98 guarantee. However, It is not the full 5.6 that was originally announced at governor's budget as well. So if we were fully funding the Proposition 98 settle up, it would have resulted in $654 more per ADA. This slide represents a graph, which I call the roller coaster ride of the COLA of 26-27. Back in June of last year in the enacted budget of 2025-26, it was estimated that COLA would be 3.02%. And then we turned the corner into January at the governor's budget of 26-27, and that COLA was dropped down to 2.41%. We presented the budget's second interim with the 2.41%. And then at May revise, the statutory COLA went back up, not to the full 3.02, but went back up to 2.87%. So this is the ups and downs of a roller coaster ride. I feel that a lot of folks have been hearing when it comes to the COLA conversation in California. So I'm a little skeptical about the 26-27 enacted budget about what that COLA will be, but I'm hoping that it will stick and be at either 2.87 or above that. Okay. In addition, the governor has intention to also invest more into LCFF, and he is doing that by doing an augmented COLA this year. This is so that we can somewhat keep pace with increasing costs and rising costs across the state. By doing so, he was going to push in an additional 1.44%, which is called an LCFF investment. It results in a total augmented COLA of 4.31%. Now, the statutory COLA is still 2.87, which will be applied to most grants. The augmented 4.31 will only be applied to certain grants, not every grant, but it will be added towards our base dollars. So our funding factors for the 26-27 school year will be, it's based on grade span level. We will receive our statutory COLA of 2.87 across all grade spans. And we also will receive that additional LCFF investment of 1.44% across all grade spans, resulting in a new base grant. There are grade span levels TK through 3 and 9 through 12 that will also get a grade span adjustment. So that's additional dollars to those grade span levels. And we will also be receiving a 20% supplemental grant for all qualifying students that are unduplicated pupil count. However, Newark does not qualify for the concentration grant, which is why I crossed that out. And I also forgot to mention that the grades specifically for the TKers, they also get an additional $5,700 of funding as well. This is only for the TK. It's not in the grade levels K through 3. It's just for the TK enrollment students. Our base funding or some of our unrestricted funds also include our California lottery dollars and a mandated block grant. I put an X next to the block grant for charters because we are not a qualifying charter school. We are a district. The California lottery has two parts. It's unrestricted and restricted. For the 26-27 year on and through 29-30 school year, the unrestricted lottery funding will be steady at $190 per ADA. And then for the restricted portion, that funding will be steady at $82 per ADA. Our mandated block grant will also be increasing each year, and that is also based on grade levels. So that you could see that on the chart that it's increasing slightly every year. And pension rates are also staying steady for CalSTRS at 19.1%. while CalPERS is slightly changing every year, but it does hover around the 25, 26, doesn't go above 27% in these projections. So what does that all mean? I spoke a lot about how the state was in the billions of dollars, but how does that come down and feed back into Newark Unified? Well, our average funding per ADA for the 26-27 year will be $13,611. And as an accountant, I actually count to the penny, so I added those 12 cents. Our projected funded ADA, which I do want to note is the rolling 3-year average ADA, is already filed with the state. We submitted our P2 back in April. So our rolling 3-year funded ADA will be at $4,344.89, which results in a projected LCFF revenue of $59.1 million. When you look at 25-26, our funded ADA was $4488.75, and the average base grant was $13,096 average per ADA. That resulted in 58.7, almost $58.8 million for Newark. And that is the projected amount that we plan to use for our unaudited actuals that is coming up by September. In 26-27, if our total funds estimate is $59.1 million, comparing that to the last year, that is only a dollar change increase of $356,000 for the fiscal year. So this is a very important slide to look at because even though the COLA is 4.31%, the total increase really is only less than a percentage to the budget. And looking at our LCFF for other funds that I mentioned in California Lottery and the mandated block grant, I wanted to also do a comparison of the 25-26 school year to a 26-27 school year. As mentioned, California Lottery for unrestricted is $190 per ADA and restricted would be $82 per ADA. In 25-26, our estimated actuals for California Lottery would be $862,000 for unrestricted and $372,000 for the restricted. But based on our ADA for next year, our California Lottery for unrestricted would be $821,000, and our California Lottery for restricted would be $354,000, which is a decline from the prior year. Our mandated block grant is broken into 2 parts as well for funding TK through 8 and then grades 9 through 12. It is a different funding level for each one of those grade spans. For 26-27, it is estimated to be at $115,000 for grades TK through 8 and $101,000 for grades 9 through 12. Both of those having a slight decrease from the prior year as well.
Excuse me, are we on the correct slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So in totality, the estimated actuals for 25-26 is $60.2 million. Our estimated revenue for 26-27 is $60.5 million, resulting in an overall difference increase of $291,000. This slide is just a reminder that we do have a reserve cap rule. The state does require us to reserve at least a 3% set aside every year. But along with our Fund $17, if our reserves exceed 10%, we do have to present to the board a resolution for anything that's in excess of 10%. And I will talk about that in when I go over the proposed budget. The next slide. This is the Student Support and Professional Development Discretionary Block Grant. It's a big, long, new funding source. It is proposed at the governor's budget that based on ADA, that we would be funded at $313 per ADA, which would have given us $1.3 million. At the May revision, if this holds still, the funding would be increased to $936 per ADA, which would result in a $4 million revenue for this discretionary block grant for Newark. That difference would be giving us $2.7 million more to our budget, which we have plugged into the proposed budget again later on this evening that I can talk about. In special education, those increases will apply towards all of these grants. But I do want to keep the community informed that our SELPA is what filters these dollars for us. So the first step in receiving any funds to Newark is that it does go through our SELPA through Alameda County Office of Education first. After it filters through that is when it flows down to all of the participating school districts. So I do anticipate that we will get more for our special education grants, but at this time, I don't know exactly what that will be yet. Our SELPA still has to calculate those amounts for us and provide that dollar amount to us. And finally, we have that paid pregnancy disability leave. That was one of the benefits that the governor is proposing as part of May revision. It would be a full pay for a teacher that would have any complications during childbirth and has a disability due to that. It does require doctor's notes. So there are requirements for this leave, but it is up to 14 weeks fully paid. Now, when we fully pay a teacher on leave, that means that a substitute would have to be on a long-term contract with us. Currently our long-term substitutes earn $270 per day, and we also pay out the statutory benefits. Total, that would be about $330 a day. At 14 weeks, which is 70 work days, that would be $23,100 as an additional cost for a sub. On average, Newark Unified does have about 5 staff members that leave each year on some sort of leave related to pregnancy. So if we just took that as historical 5 that we would have to hire substitutes for, this would be an increase to the Newark budget of $115,500 for sub cost. And that leaves me with the final slide, which is if we have any questions on the May revise.
Thank you, Victoria. I would invite the board members to make comments or ask questions.
I just would like to state that that's one of the clearest explanations that we've had, and I very much appreciate the work that went into the presentation and the information and the hard work that you brought to us. I don't have any questions because I really understood what you were talking about, so thank you.
Mr. Anguiano?
Thank you, President Thomas. Ms. Knudsen, really appreciate the presentation in detail. Thank you for the numbers. There's a lot of good things happening in the near future, so really excited.
Yes, and I would like to say the same. Thank you, Ms. Knudsen. This is a wonderful presentation, very complete and understandable. And, well, I don't know if it's completely understandable because we have to try to digest all this information, but it looks like there's more money coming in than was in the January governor's report, and so that's good news. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Ms. Knudsen also has the next one, which is our annual budget that we're bringing to you, and so we will transition to that report.
Okay.
If you're ready.
Thank you. Ms. Knudsen?
Yes, I'm still here. So we're going to jump right into the 26-27 budget. This is also known as our adopted budget, and I do want to thank Nancy Chen, our Director of Fiscal Services. She has been working tirelessly on this. She's in the room with you this evening. I want to give her my deepest appreciation for sticking to every late night phone call and email that I sent to her on revising this budget over and over again. But thank you, Nancy. So tonight's agenda is going to include just a update again on how public education budget cycles work in California. We're also going to go over the 26-27 general fund revenues and expenditures, but also knowing that in an adopted budget, how that plays out in a multi-year projection. We're also going to speak about incorporating some of those LCAP revenues that Assistant Superintendent Allard mentioned, and also how that, what kind of fiscal challenges, even though we've been given a augmented COLA, we still have a declining enrollment and declining ADA issue, which isn't making Newark alone in the state of California. A lot of school districts are experiencing the same issues. And so what are our next steps? And we'll go into a board discussion and question at the end. So jumping right into the budget cycle, this is a very weird period for fiscal services. This is when you're closing out one year and you're also opening up another year. So during this time, we're giving you our estimated actuals for the 25-26 school year. This is for the period July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. But we're also presenting to you our adopted budget for the 26-27 school year. So it's exciting to see one closure of one, but also continue the other. But it's a lot of work. Okay. So the next slide again just describes out that state budget timeline that I had mentioned earlier during my May revision presentation. January really is during the governor's budget proposal. He seems to hone down on some of the things that happened by May revise, giving us a more predictable budget. But none of that falls into place until after June 15th when the enacted budget happens. And then what does that mean for the school district? It still means that I still have to turn in an adopted budget by July 1st, but it allows us to close the books by September 15th. And then we come back to the board at that time to present what our carryover dollars are and any updates to the board that would give us an updated budget by December 15th, which is our first interim budget. Okay. For our general fund and multi-year, the next slide really shows our enrollment and ADA projections for the 26-27 year. The 21-22 school year, we had enrollment at 5,167 students. The top bar or the top line of this graph represents the funded ADA from that year, which was 5,021. But our unduplicated pupil count was at 4,642. You can see, though, every year since 21-22, each line, each bar is decreasing. This represents real recorded ADA and enrollment to the state of California. For the 25-26 school year, our enrollment was at 4,410. And our funded ADA, which is that rolling 3-year average, is at 4,137.89. Our UPC numbers, our unduplicated pupil count, has also decreased to 2,188 for the 25-26 school year. So when you take this trend level, we make our best guess for 26-27. Our enrollment at the time that this presentation was put together and at the time that the LCFF calculator was done, our enrollment for the 26-27 school year is at 4,330. and we trend out what that would mean for a ADA, and that would be at 3,993. So we are falling below that 4,000 mark. That we're kind of hard for me to say that out loud because it's just a low number, and our UPC is falling to 2165. So not only is our enrollment dropping, but our ADA is trending to fall below that 4,000 mark. Are those revenue assumptions that I had mentioned during my May revised presentation is the same numbers here. So I'm not going to spend too much time going over this again, but these are the assumptions and the factors that we use to project our 26-27 budget. And here is our multi-year revenue assumptions based on everything that I've talked about so far. For enrollment for 26-27, it's trending to be 4,330 students, but by 28-29, our enrollment will be decreased to 3,991 students. The ADA ratio each year is right around 92-93%. Resulting in a funded ADA of 4,344.89 for 26-27, and then again decreasing to under 4,000 by 28-29. That funded ADA is the important number. That is the actual ADA that is recorded that tells the state how much we fund or how many pupils we fund. So it's very important for our students to stay not only enrolled, but coming to school every day, because that is an attendance rate. Our unduplicated percentage does not meet, again, our constant qualifying us for concentration dollars, but it does qualify us for supplemental dollars. Our COLA is those percentages that you see there. The 4.31% includes that augmented COLA. That is only for the 26-27 year. And then in 27-28 and 28-29, the COLA falls to 3.3 and 3.09. Our estimated LCFF revenue is going to be $59.1 million for 26-27, and then 58.7 million for 27-28, and then just a little bit over 58 million for the third year, 28-29. Our supplemental revenue stays around $5 million, and that is the dollar amount that Assistant Superintendent Allard does use to build her LCAP. Our percentage change every fiscal year, you can see we are increasing that first year, but that is because of that augmented COLA I had mentioned. The 2 years out, we will see an LCFF change going into a negative number. And our average revenue per ADA will be $13,611 for the first year, increasing to $14,539 for the third year. Other revenue assumptions that we build into the adopted budget do include federal revenue, special education. We do have that Proposition 9828 money that we're still is ongoing funds. This is for the music and art grants, and then our lottery dollars, which I went into detail during the May revised presentation as well. For the multi-year expenditure assumptions, CalSTRS is staying steady at 19.1 for all 3 years, but PERS is moving around just a little bit, 26.4, 26.8, and 25.9 for those 3 years. We do assume a step and column increase for all of our employees in the salaries. So the assumption is a 1.5% increase each year for all of our employees. But we also have to keep in mind that every year the minimum wage across the state does increase. So we have to build that additional cost into the budget as well. And the CPI for the year, for each 3 year, which I I call CPI just the fancy word for thinking about what our inflation amounts will be. It's looking at 3.76 increases for first year, 3.18 for the second year, and 2.76 for the third year. So when we do expenditures, we increase our expenditures by that CPI or that inflation amount. So our estimated actuals and our actual proposed budget. It's a lot of numbers. So I wanted to do this presentation a little bit differently from what you've seen before. I wanted to slow down and actually show you in the next slide an estimated actuals for the 25-26 school year and how that will compare to a proposed budget for the 26-27 school year. We have unrestricted and restricted dollars in each year. And I did total that in each year for you there. For 25-26, our estimated actuals for all total revenue will be $80.4 million. Our budget for 26-27 total revenue is estimated to $77.3 million. That is a decline in revenue by 3.9%. Now, I do also want to keep everybody in mind that the 26-27 budget does not include any carryover dollars yet. So when we close the books and present to you the unaudited actuals by September 15th, we will know exactly what those fallout dollars will be. And then we include that back into the budget after September 15th, which means that it will be included by December 15th in the first interim budget. I'm also breaking down in the same style here for you, the expenditures side. This highlights all of our salaries and benefits, books and supplies, our any services like contracts, capital outlay, which would be like equipment purchases, and other outgo, which is payments to our county office for services. So in the 25-26 total, we're looking at expenditures of $91.8 million. And then in 26-27, we're looking at total expenditures of $80.6 million. The difference between the 2 years is a drop of 12.2%, but remember, it's because we don't have any of those carryover dollars to budget with yet. So the next slide summarizes those big numbers here. Our revenues for 26-27 is that $77.3 million. We minus the expenditures of $80.6 million, giving us a deficit spending of $3.3 million. But we do have a beginning fund balance, and that's the money that comes back in the beginning of the year. That number does change every year, but it is projected to be $20.1 million for the upcoming July 1st, giving us a ending fund balance of $16.8 million. That means that in year one, we are positive. We are able to meet a 3% reserve. And again, I'll talk about that a little bit more in another slide coming up. Our revolving cash and our stores, which is our warehouse inventory, is non-spendable accounts, but I do have to record that in our financials. For our commitments for the 26-27 year, because we have that fund balance, we're going to set aside $120,000 for deferred maintenance, and $6 million have already been set aside in a prior resolution by the board, and it was approved for a set aside of $6 million, which we called the MYP savings for our future years. And in special education, due to rising costs, we're also setting aside $882,000. Our economic uncertainties at 3% is going to be $2.4 million. That is a requirement for me to set aside. And this section of the budget totals to $9.8 million. For our restricted fund balances, these are balances that are looking at what are estimated to be our carryover for next year. Once we close this, we can include this back into the books, but at this time it's sitting on the restricted side. Some big ones is that student support and professional development block grant. As I mentioned in the May revise presentation, that amount might increase if the governor's proposal is to increase it to funding at over $900 per ADA. That amount will increase. Our lottery dollars do have some carryover as well, and some other big amounts is our LCFF equity multiplier, which we only use at one of our sites, but that would carry over. And then that big number on the bottom that's labeled other restricted local. These are like local grants and donations that are accumulated at each one of our departments and sites. So in total, our restricted fund balance is the $7 million. And a multi-year. If we plug all this into a multi-year, which is also a requirement of submitting a budget, it will tell us what our where we land in year 3. The state requires us to submit a budget with a current year and 2 years out. So in the same style, I'm going to break it down by revenues and expenditures in the next slide here. The first is the revenue. Our LCFF sources are right around $58 million each year. And that includes all of our COLA. It includes the assumptions of what our ADA is to calculate that funding source. Our other state revenues and our other local revenues are also estimated there. But our total revenues for all 3 years would be $61.8 million, going down to $60.6 million in the 3rd year. And our projections for expenditures, again, these are our salaries and benefits, supplies, contracted services, equipment purchases, any transfers to our county office for services as well. Our total expenditures will be over $50 million every year. So unlike the other slide where you see revenue going down, you here see expenditures going up. And that also is contributed by that CPI or that inflation rate. So even if we kept services the same, at the same level, if we kept salaries, benefits, FTE levels all the same, I would still have to increase them by every year by either that CPI. So our new fund balance at the end of every year is also going down. So $11.3 million dropping down to $8.6 million, or I'm sorry, that is the balance change for each year. But you can see that that number is going down each fiscal year. So in the next slide, what you see here is a summary of a beginning fund balance, bringing in that non-spendable amount of stores and warehouse. We've committed those funds, which again is deferred maintenance, special education, and an MYP savings account line. We have to do a 3% reserve each year, which is about $2.7 million every year. So when we combine the 3% with any of our Fund 17 dollars, we will have a positive budget every year. However, I'm positive as in the sense of having a dollar amount that's not in the red. However, it does not meet the minimum requirement of 3% in the 3rd year out. Our reserves will fall down to $126,000, which is roughly just the cost of one FTE, one full-time FTE here in Newark Unified. So our fiscal challenges is that we will meet our 3% in the first 2 years. We are bringing in that Fund 17 that is allowable of 2.7 every year. By the 3rd year, our reserve would only represent less than 1% of our budget, which is falling below the requirement of 3%. Here again is our declining enrollment numbers. So I do just want to remind everybody that in that third year, we're looking at decreasing or having enrollment drop below 4,000. So what do we have to do? We have to continue reviewing all of our expenditures. We have to put some fiscal policies in place that tighten all of our spending habits. Perhaps we need to do some training across the board that involves everybody getting involved in what budget planning and what budget development looks like, but definitely monitoring it closely. We're looking at monthly budget cycle reviews in not only the cabinet level, but also down to our school sites. And we have to start identifying any possible funding things that can shift and pay for other things, or to address what operational things that we can save from, which means we're looking at possibly some reductions. We're going to implement and work together between fiscal services and HR a tighter position control process, which looks at all of our staffing targets. We're going to address spending reductions that will help soften that blow to that third year. Anything that we do in year 1 and year 2 will definitely help year 3. We're looking at right-sizing our staffing. So as declining enrollment happens, we also have to right-size that staffing level. We have ELOP and all these other grants. If we look at leveraging those to possibly save some of our expenditures from the unrestricted side, which is a possibility, that might result in a higher fund balance as well. And we have to study what's going on in our special education program. So our next steps, we're waiting for June 17th, which is just next week, and we'll have a budget approval of the adopted budget. By June 30th, the state will adopt or enact their budget. Our budget then goes to the county office for review. In August, if there's a significant swing to the budget, I will come back to you with a 45-day budget revision. And in September, we'll have the unaudited actuals done. And with that, I am opening. I'm open for any questions or discussion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Newton. Before we move on to board discussion, we have a community member, Ms. Parks, that would like to speak to this item.
Good evening once again. I want to start off tonight by thanking Ms. Knudsen for adjusting the certificated FTE to a more realistic number. Accurate staffing projections are critical, and I appreciate that alignment. However, I'm here tonight to talk about the missed opportunity in the revenue projections. Every time the district has a discussion about the budget, it looks for ways to increase revenue. One of the easiest, most repeated strategies brought up is increasing your ADA. While the actual attendance numbers have shown a slight, steady increase since 2022, the proposed 2027 budget relies on overly conservative ADA assumptions. This conservative math translates directly into lower projected revenue for the district. For the last 3 years, your actual ADA has consistently hovered between 93.6% and 93.8%. Given that proven 3-year track record, I would ask, why on earth is this budget using a projection of 92.2 for 27, 92.7 for 28, and 93.19 for 29, which is on slide 8 of the presentation. By lowballing this number, you are essentially planning for a deficit that your own data doesn't support. Please ask why. Ultimately, attendance isn't just about financial bottom line. Every day a student is absent, it's a lost opportunity to learn. In March, Pupil Services did send out a Parent Square message explaining the vital link between daily attendance and school funding. I want to acknowledge that it was a great positive step. but a single message cannot be a one-time announcement. This single message cannot be a one-time announcement. It needs to be part of an ongoing effort. I also noticed on page 16 of the budget that there is mention of an attendance recovery option funded by ELOP money. I strongly urge the district to thoroughly analyze this option. You need to determine if it can serve as a viable funded solution to both recover lost learning time for kids and boost your ADA revenue. Once again, I'm encouraging this district to launch a campaign to educate families about why daily attendance matters, both for the students' success and for financial health of Newark schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. And so next we move on to board questions and comments. I'd like to start out by saying that's an outstanding report, and I really appreciate it, Ms. Knudsen. Could we look at the slide for enrollment and ADA?
I believe that's slide 6.
Yeah, my question is in regards to the steep declines in enrollment that you're projecting. When you compare that against the demographer report, those numbers are much lower than what the demographic study based on birth rates would suggest. Could you please go on and tell us more about where those numbers come from, how they're derived?
Sure. For all of the bars except for 26, 27, those are actual recorded enrollment figures. So every year, that top number, 5167, 4952, all the way down to 4410, that is our actual recorded to the state enrollment figure. So that is not a projection. Those are real numbers.
Right.
And same thing for the ADA number right below that. The darker green line represents our funded ADA. So the option by the state is still that you can take the higher ADA from the prior year, or you can take the higher of a 3-year average and use that number to fund your district. Our district qualifies under the 3-year rolling average, so that is that number in the darker green line. We qualify for a 3-year rolling average funding at 5021.26, 4566.5, and so forth, so on. Our next line, the lighter green, is our real number as well. That's recorded with the state. So you can see in 21, 22, and then down to 22, 23, we saw a pretty drastic drop in our unduplicated pupil count. We went from over 4,000 to now just a little bit over 2,700. And since then, our unduplicated pupil count has declined since then as well. So that lower line represents students that are low socioeconomic, English language learners, or homeless youth. That number is what is recorded in our CalPADS report annually. When you get to the 26-27 year, that is the only column that is a projection on this slide. So this trends out what has been happening for the prior 5 years. The only number that is that we recorded that was true in 26-27 is that 4,330 number. At the time that we built the budget, our enrollment number was projected to be 4,330. So Ms. Chen and I used that number to project out that 26-27 year as an enrollment. The other numbers are a projection. They are the ratio that community member parks states is that we are using a ratio that's falling below what our normal record is, but I am trending with the highest possibility number without being too optimistic, as I don't want to trend something that won't come to fruition. So will this number change? It most likely will again, and we won't know that until we come back to school in August. Our real number is reported in CalPADS again, which comes out in October for enrollment. And then our P2 number for our rolling 3-year average actually doesn't come out until April of 2027. So this is our best assumption at the time that we've put together this budget.
Okay, and when you project forward to 27, 28, and 28, 29, those numbers are lower still, and are those numbers? How do you come up with those numbers? Is it
so? Yes,
for enrollment.
We trend those out as well. Based on our historical values, the LCFF calculator helps us trend out this dollar. Now, the demographer study was done prior to my calculations. If we have another demographic study, I'd be very curious about how close or how far off we would be here. But I did not use the demographer study as that was older data. I'm using what is trending, and that's through our FICMAC LCFF calculator.
Okay, thank you. Board, any further questions? Or comments?
Thank you, President Thomas. Really appreciated Ms. Knudsen and also Ms. Chen for working on this particular document, which is really really nice to see a lot of different numbers that cover also the changes that we have for the upcoming 3-year plans that we're looking into. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next we move on, because we will be looking at this next week for action. Next we move on to public hearing. 12.1, we have a speaker to speak to this. Ms. Parks?
I'm here to address the district's compliance with the LCAP stakeholder engagement requirements. Under the California Education Code Section 52062, the superintendent must present the LCAP to the Parent Advisory Committee and the English Learner Parent Advisory Committee for review and comment, and respond to those comments in writing. To remove any doubt about what constitutes a valid presentation, the California Department of Education published on their Parent and Community Engagement FAQ page the answer to the question, how many times must a Parent Advisory Committee, an English Learner Parent Advisory Committee, and/or a Student Advisory Committee meeting meet? The CDE answer states, at a minimum, the Parent Advisory Committee, English Learner Parent Advisory Committee, and/or Student Advisory Committee must meet once for the superintendent of the LEA to present the LCAP in its entirety for review and comment. The meetings of the Parent Advisory Committee, English Learner Parent Advisory Committee, and/or Student Advisory Committee must be held separately. LEAs are encouraged to hold multiple meetings as part of their ongoing educational partner engagement process. The state guidance is clear. The committees must meet. The superintendent must present the plan in its entirety, and these meetings must happen separately. Despite this required process, Newark Unified canceled its final LCAP committee meeting on May 14th. A meeting you'll notice was not included in the timeline that was on slide 6 of that LCAP presentation. Instead, members were simply emailed the 146-page draft, noted as 95% complete, and told to submit feedback via a Google form. Emailing a link and collecting forms as a data drop is not a collective meeting, nor is it a presentation. True stakeholder engagement requires an open forum where committee members can hear the presentation, ask questions, and collaborate as an advisory body. Therefore, I ask the board, did the superintendent present the complete LCAP in its entirety to the parent advisory committees, the committee and English Learner Advisory Committee in separate meetings as the Education Code and CDE requires? How could the committee review a plan in its entirety when pieces were missing? LCAP compliance is not a flexible guidance. It is subject to the Uniform Complaint Procedure. Failing to meet these requirements exposes the district to formal UCP complaints. As the governing board, you are responsible for ensuring the district follows the law. Newark families deserve a legally compliant process. I urge you to convene these committees properly before adopting the LCAP at next week's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we open the public hearing, Superintendent, do you have any comment?
I appreciate the feedback from the audience, and we will check with legal to see if we are out of compliance.
Okay, thank you. So next we have the public hearing on the local control and accountability plan. Public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak to this may come forward. Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Next, we open the public hearing on the 2026-27 proposed budget. Anyone wishing to speak to this, please come forward. Hearing is closed. Next, we have the public hearing to adopt the PK-12 Common Core Aligned Curriculum for Elementary Extensive Support Needs and Moderate Secondary Classrooms. Anyone wishing to speak to this? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. So next, we move on to item 13.1, Student Achievement Legislative Support and Resolution. Superintendent?
Before you go to that item, I had mentioned to you that this would be probably a new business, be the appropriate time for us to do the vote on 2.4 and 2.6 to be able to appoint. Would that be the appropriate time, or would you like to do it after this item?
Oh, that would be great. Yes, please.
Okay, then I would like to introduce to you item number 2.4, which is to ask the board to move support for Louis Lindsay to be Special Education Director for Newark Unified School District.
I move that we move Louis Lindsay to be the Special Ed Director.
I'll second.
Please vote. 3 ayes. Congratulations, Mr. Lindsay. And thanks for your patience. Okay, next we move on.
Actually, I've got item number 2.6, which is to ask for the board's consideration to appoint Scott Boggs as principal in Newark Middle School.
Go ahead.
I move that we appoint Scott, what's your last name? Fong?
Boggs.
To be our middle school principal.
I'll second.
Please vote. 3 ayes. Congratulations to both of you, and congratulations to Newark Unified. Thank you for taking these positions. We really appreciate it. And I thank our legal counsel for allowing us to do that at this meeting. Okay.
That then takes you into item number 13.1, the Student Achievement Legislative Support and Resolution. Before you this evening is a letter of support. It's known as the SOS piece, and this was brought to us by, which talks about the measurable benchmarks and transparent, understandable reporting to the public on its progress towards a more aligned state system that improves outcomes for California students. This North Star would guide the state's public education entities. and serve a common throughout and realize the shared goals of closing achievement gaps. Together, they represent a landmark effort by the legislature to help further focus and align the state policies, fiscal operational efforts, and support goals, and establish a new level of shared accountability between state entities and local educational agencies for closing this achievement gap. So before you this evening is that resolution for your consideration.
Thank you. I have to say, as a member of the CSBA Delegate Assembly, the CSBA has worked very hard to ensure that the state of California be accountable for what they ask us to do and for giving us the proper support to do it. And so I'm really appreciative that this is on the agenda and that we can send the message to the state that we need them to be accountable. We need them to plan and provide support. Okay, with that, could I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 13.1 Student Achievement Legislative Support and Resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, please vote. 3 ayes, thank you. Next, we move on to old business, 14.1, Transitional Kindergarten Extended Day MOU.
So before you this evening is item number 14.41. This is the transitional kindergarten for the extended day MOU. We've been talking about wanting to go to an extended TK since July of last year. Our surrounding districts have already moved to an extended day, and I'm going to ask Ms. Allard to present any additional information with regards to the MOU.
That is the same information, collaboration with NTA. This is a MOU to begin planning for an extended TK program. Within the MOU itself, it shares some of the possible topics that NTA proposed to us, including a possible pilot starting at the beginning of 2027. And we just look forward to coming back together and to continuing the conversation.
Okay. Thank you. So, member,
we would ask that you ratify
this
item. I think it's, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to ratify 14.1 extended day, TK extended day for MOU.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Please vote. Wait.
I don't think the last one got clear.
Okay, let me remove that. 3 ayes. Thank you. Passes. So next we move on to the personnel report.
No.
Where are we?
Yeah, you would go to 15.3.
Oh,
Consent agenda for personnel items.
Consent agenda for personnel items. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to, for 15.3 through 15.7. We do have a public comment on 15.6, correct, Ms. Parks? Yes. Okay.
Is it okay for us to do all three at once?
We can do 15.3, 0.4, 0.5, and 0.7 at this time.
Okay.
And wait on, or we can have the public comment first and then do all 4 of them.
Okay, let's have public comment on 15.6. Ms. Parks, that's on the Director of Student Services and Alternative Education.
I have a few questions regarding the proposed Director of Student Services and Alternative Education position, which is stated to save the district over $100,000 by consolidating 2 management roles. Based on the provided job descriptions, the new director position is primarily an expansion of the former Pupil Services Coordinator role, covering student attendance, enrollment, records, SARB oversight, discipline, restorative practices, student support services, state and federal compliance, budget, and staff supervision. Where there seems to be some overlap While there seems to be some overlap with the secondary assistant principal role in oversight of all of the programs at the McGregor site, along with attendance and behavioral intervention, the new director job description completely leaves out core assistant principal duties, including daily site administration and campus supervision, master scheduling, athletic and co-curricular supervision, teacher evaluations, and site-based operational management. To help the public and the board understand what this restructuring is without guessing, could you please clarify the following? Exactly which two positions are being consolidated, because the agenda doesn't say. If the secondary assistant principal position at McGregor is being consolidated into the new director role, why are the daily operational duties of the assistant principal completely omitted from the job description? Where will this individual actually be stationed? At the McGregor site or at the district office? How will the district handle potential conflicts of interest regarding the behavioral referrals and SARB hearings, since both would now be overseen by the same person? Any complaints from McGregor would be overseen by the same person. What is the exact breakdown of the projected $100,000 annual savings? You cannot afford to approve a job consolidation that leaves critical operational gaps, nor should the agenda leave the public guessing which positions are being consolidated. This is about ensuring the schools are properly staffed and budget claims are accurate. The board and the public deserves absolute transparency regarding these missing duties and the actual financial impact before the job description is approved. How many teachers do you have over there? How many other staff members? Will they even know who they will be reporting to and where that person will be housed? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. Well, this item is open for discussion. Superintendent, would you like to speak to this item?
I'll ask Mr. Williams to speak on this item. This is a personnel item.
So the Director of Student Services and Alternative Education, as outlined in the title, it will be responsible for student services, which currently is titled under pupil services. Alternative Education Program is the program that's offered at McGregor. The idea is, as we continue to lose enrollment in different programs, having one individual that would be staffed at the McGregor site would be able to oversee, as they do now, the different enrollment figures, the other pieces that go as it relates to discipline support for the sites, in addition to SARBs, as mentioned, in addition to being that presence on the campus as it requires an administrative services credential, they will be able to oversight all functions at a school site. So they'll be able to serve in both roles. And in a way to save funds, we will be able to reduce both the assistant principal at Bridgepoint McGregor campus and the pupil services coordinator position. And all of the statutories combined, including the salaries, which is listed on the job description, is where the $100,000 annual savings is coming from.
Okay, board, do you have any questions? Could you speak to the public speaker's concern about not listing in the job description actions that are required of the current assistant principal?
So all actions with someone who is serving in an administrative role have duties that are assigned. They're not restricted similar to you might find in CSCA or NTA job descriptions. They're responsible for doing what they're directed to do. Within the position, they're overseeing. We tried to bring all the essence of the job description in from kind of all the areas that would be supporting. It wasn't intended to mislead or represent or miss items as part of that job description. It was an effort to focus on what the core functions would be for this position that would be overseeing alternative ed and student services.
Okay. If there's no further comments from the board, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion for 15.3 through 15.7.
I'll second.
Please vote. Three ayes. Thank you. Next, we move on to the consent agenda. That would be 16.2 through 16.11, with the exception of 16.9. I would ask for a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to pass 16.2 through 16.8 and 16.10 and 16.11.
Okay,
Second.
please vote. Three ayes. Thank you. So next we move on to student expulsions. We should take these one at a time. A motion on 17.1, please.
I'll make a motion to accept the termination for 17.1.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Anguiano seconds. Okay. Please vote. Three ayes, thank you. Next, I'll make a motion to accept the staff recommendation on the termination student expulsion case number E2425-04.
I'll second.
Please vote. Three ayes. Thank you. Now I'd ask for a motion on 17.3.
I'll make a motion to approve 17.3, termination student expulsion, Ed Code 48918, case 12526-01.
I'll second.
Please vote. Three ayes. Thank you. Next, we move on to Board of Education Committee reports. Oh, that's right. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, Sundar Arkarya.
Mr. Sundar left earlier with his son, so I hope that the board would oblige and allow me to read his statement. Good evening, my name is Sundar, and I want to be upfront. My son is no longer in the special day class. He's in general education now. But I'm standing here tonight because of what that class gave him to get there. The teachers, the paraprofessionals, the families who showed up every day. That's what made his transition possible. Not a district initiative, not a top-down program. It was the people on the ground at Kennedy who built something real, quietly and consistently for these kids. That kind of trust and community does not come from an org chart. It comes from years of showing up. He didn't age out of needing support. He still has hard days. He still needs adults around him who knows him, who understands his needs, and who don't have to start from scratch every time something is hard. When I hear that the district wants to dissolve this program with no plan, no timeline, no real conversations with families, I think about every child who is exactly where my son was a few years ago. Kids who are making progress precisely because of the stability they found at this school. And I think about what it would have meant for us if that had been pulled away mid-journey. I'm not here because my family has the most to lose tonight. I'm here because the families who do deserve to know this community sees them and stands with them. Board members, I want to ask you directly, who benefits from this decision? Because it is not these children, it is not these families. So before anything moves forward, that question deserves a real answer. You have the power tonight to protect something that is genuinely working. These families will remember what you do here. These kids will feel it. Please don't let the weight of of that go unacknowledged. Do the right thing. Keep this program at Kennedy. Pause any change until a real written plan exists, and treat these families as partners who deserve transparency and respect. Thank you. And that's from Mr. Sundar.
Thank you. Megan McMillan.
Good evening, Board President Thomas, board members, and members of the Newark community. My name is Fong Nguyen, and USD parent and student advocate. Tonight, I'm asking you, the board, to step in, not to micromanage, but to lead, because the decision to dissolve the SDC program at Kennedy is not simply an operational adjustment. It is a life-changing decision for children who depend on stability, familiarity, and specialized support. These are some of our most vulnerable students in our district, and their future should never hinge on a unilateral administrative action. Ending an SDC class disrupts far more than a schedule. It disrupts a child's sense of safety. It uproots relationships that took years to build. It places families in crisis, giving them a short notice to prepare for seismic change in their child's educational world. No superintendent, no matter how well-intentioned, should shoulder that decision alone. This is exactly why boards exist. When a proposal affects protected student groups, cuts certificated positions, reshape programs offerings, and alters our legal responsibility to provide a full continuum of services, the board has a duty to step in. That is not micromanagement. That is governance. That is protecting students. As board members, you should always champion equity, inclusion, stability, and a belief that every child, regardless of ability, deserves to learn in a community that knows and loves them. Removing the SDC program at Kennedy runs counter to those values. It weakens our special education continuum, fragments our community, and sends a message that specialized programs can be moved like pieces on a chessboard without recognizing the human impact behind every move. Tonight, I'm asking you to step in because these children cannot advocate for themselves, their families are overwhelmed, and the consequences of this decision will echo for years. Please press pause, review this decision publicly, and ensure that any changes to essential special education programs are thoughtful, lawful, transparent, and truly centered on student. Our children deserve nothing less. And lastly, I am so disappointed that you appointed Mr. Lindsay as the special education director, who, by the way, have not supported the Kennedy families, SDC families, that he, as the principal at Kennedy, did not support. If he doesn't currently support and care about the SDC students and families at Kennedy, what makes you think he is a good fit to be the director of special education for the district-wide? So, and disappointed that you guys didn't allow the new superintendent to come and hire him. Do you have any reservations of the new superintendent, Mr. Anguiano, who you have worked with hiring this position? That's my question to you.
Thank you.
Do the right thing.
Ms. McMillan? Ms. McMillan?
Good evening, board members, superintendent, executive cabinet. My name is Megan McMillan, and I just completed my 21st year as a special education teacher in NUSD. NUSD can do better with special education. I know this because I've been here long enough to remember when we did. Don't mistake me, NUSD management has never done great with SPED on their own. Teachers have always had to fight, push, and advocate for our students and for ourselves, reminding management that our working conditions are our students' learning conditions. It's always been that the voice of one parent carried at least the weight of 5 teachers. That is until recently. I stand firmly with the families here this evening, families who have come to their administrator, to the upper management, to the board multiple times with valid concerns and have been placated with empty promises, left in a precarious limbo for weeks. It's such disrespect, bordering on disdain. We train excellent special education teachers in Newark for Fremont and New Haven. This year, I mentored a fantastic first-year teacher who wasn't hired until October, but completely turned around an unstructured class into a solid TK mild mod program. We wanted to keep her. Then they found out at the last minute they were moving her to Lincoln and making her teach a TKK combo. She also discovered that Fremont would pay her $10,000 more a year and give her stability. Her loss is felt deeply, and I know she'll have a great career there. NUSD used to involve current special education teachers in the SPED hiring process. I remember teachers being asked to tailor interview questions for the job because they knew the job so well. I remember being asked to sit on interview panels to help influence some of those decisions. I remember when we were asked to provide insight into what we needed as a SPED director, what we needed from a program specialist, not to make the final decision, but to have real input into who was going to be seeing us do our work. That hasn't happened for years now. The effects are obvious and widespread if you just look around tonight. Teachers know that when top-down decisions go bad, the injury hits the students hardest, and so teachers act as Band-Aids on a regular basis. For example, restructuring the entire preschool program to an AM/PM thing so that we could maintain the current number of students, reduce overall class size, and save the district having to hire another teacher. Teachers did that. Finding out the Friday before ESY started that teachers were going to be teaching combo classes that they didn't know were going to be happening, knowing that they wouldn't have been informed if we hadn't asked because we heard it through the rumor mill. My contract still isn't correct for ESY. Tonight, I am asking NUSD to do better. Listen to these families. It's a monumental effort for them to be here. I am so impressed with the behavior of these kids tonight. Better yet, seek counsel from your teachers and truly consider them in the decision-making. I would much rather be a shoulder leaned on to make a decision than a Band-Aid on the injury after. And to paraphrase James Baldwin, I love NUSD more than any other district. That's why I reserve the right to criticize it as harshly as necessary. Do better. I've been here long enough to know we can. Thank you.
Okay. So finally, we have board member committee reports, announcements, requests, debrief, and discussion. Would you like to say anything before you leave?
No.
Okay. Your excuse. Well, did you want to speak first?
No, actually, you no longer have a quorum. You're not going to be able to continue the meeting, I don't believe.
But I don't think we can ask for requests. I mean, that's.
You still need 3 board members to request. Yeah. I don't think you can continue.
Okay, well, with that, Superintendent's concluding comments?
I don't have them either.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.